Hi there, I'm Jean Burke with College Prep Genius, and thank you so much for joining me with the top 5 secrets to college prep success, or my 5 top P's to success. And today we're going to zero in on the junior and the senior years. There's definitely a lot of things that you could be doing in the younger grades, but this is a seminar that we're going to be doing today. Now, I'd love you to just sit back, relax, don't stress too much about taking a lot of notes because I do talk a little fast, and I want you to be able to listen and learn, and I'll give you a link on the end on how to get the notes, as well as some more tips on how to get free college. These are just some of the networks that I have been featured on, as well as being a Fox News contributor. These are a lot of the radio shows that I've been on. If you've never heard me speak before, short story long, my kids were homeschooled, and about maybe 19 years ago when my son was in 9th grade, we literally had no money for college. And like many of you, we were one income family and just didn't have any money. And my friend one day mentioned to me how you could get free college based on a test score. And I thought that was really kind of cool. I'd never heard that before. And so we didn't have any money to spend on an expensive prep school. So we tried a lot of different things, very helter-skelter, buying books at the store, taking different classes, going through lots of practice questions. And my son became a National Merit Scholar. And we ended up throwing away 7 trash bags of college offers. And that really was every day. My mailbox for about a year was really filled up with letters and information from colleges all across this nation. And they offered him full ride and free tuition and room and board and grad school and study abroad stipends and spending cash and honors dorms and ... So many different perks that he was being inundated with every day. And then my daughter received scholarship money, and then my friends were calling me going, how did y'all get free college? And so I wrote a book, started a program about 17 years ago. And so we've helped tens of thousands of students learn how to get free college. Now, one of the things I love about this particular quote here is a fool with a plan beats a genius with no plan every time. And today what I want to do is I want to give you a plan. I want to give you a guideline on the top 5 tips, or letter P, on college success, preparing for college, especially for your junior and your senior. Now, the 5 P's are pre-college, what you do before college, picking a college, procedure to college, paying for college, and preparing for college tests. So let's get into what should you be doing. And as a matter of fact, for your children, they should be shouting from the mountaintop their immense desire to attend certain schools. Having that demonstrated interest is so important. Being proactive and even contacting the schools even prior to sending in your application. And definitely, if you've got younger kids, or maybe your kids aren't in the junior senior year right now, visiting colleges while in the middle school years can really make your students stand out. Now, we go into a lot more on my earlier grades, but today we're going to be concentrating on the junior and the senior year. Now, even if your child doesn't know what to study, or they may not know what they're going to study, but they may change their mind, here are some great career tests, personality type tests that are free. They're definitely not foolproof, but they're a great way to kind of get you started on the right path. Testingroom.com, careerfitter.com, yourfreecareertest.com, assessment.com. So a great way to maybe start implementing some of those surveys now, just to kind of get your student on maybe thinking some things they never had thought about before when it comes to what they may ultimately want to study while they're in college. Now, because we're dealing with juniors and seniors today, I want to give you some hints on summer before college starts. Now, your junior, a few months before the October of the junior year, should be working on their PSAT. That is not a practice test. It's a scholarship contest test that counts in the junior year. And it's made by the College Board. So if you're studying for the SAT, you're basically studying for the PSAT, and vice versa, because there's only a 15-minute difference between the 2 tests, and they're basically the same type of questions. So this would be the year to make the summer their part-time job and really be studying for that PSAT. And also, you can start looking up essay prompts. Usually the Common Application posts them on their site. Be a great idea to start looking into those and trying to start working on some college essays. If you happen to be in the more of the lower income bracket, and again, that's very subjective because most colleges consider 40 to 65,000 low income, but Princeton and Stanford consider $140,000 low income. But you can check into what's called fly-in programs, and what they do is it's where they actually will fly students in to visit their colleges, especially for those who can't afford it. And then one of the things, if you're looking into the cost of college right now, the best thing to do is to either go to the college's website themselves or put the name of the college in a Google search and put the word NPC or net price calculator. And they can pretty much tell you what the cost of college actually will be. Now, of course, that doesn't count any grants or loans or scholarships or anything like that. Now, the junior year is the ta-da year. I mean, this is the year that your kids will go to college on everything that they've done up until that point. So make sure that they are taking classes that are manageable. Especially if you're going to take on some AP courses, which are great on the transcript, but they also can add 5 to 10 hours of extra homework per week per class. So just make sure that their schedule isn't too busy or too overwhelmed, maxed out, so they can actually handle them. Now, for seniors, what you should be doing before the summer starts, and that is applications will open up in the summer. So they can actually start looking into the Common App or the Universal App, filling those out. Working on their personal statement, which is very important. You don't want to have to wait till the school year starts and start getting overwhelmed with school. Opening a ZME account, which is a great way to keep organized and sync up to your Common App. And then certainly if they haven't got the SAT score that they want, this summer is a time to really, or ACT, they're both pretty much the same test, but start really working on those right now. Now, again, AP courses are important, but again, you want to make sure that you are going to do well in them and score at least a 3 out of a 5 or above to get college credit. So again, not taking more than a couple of them, if your schedule can handle it. If your senior does have like maybe a low GPA, one of the things besides test scores that can help overcome that or mitigate that is to get an alternative transcript by taking some dual credit courses. And of course, watch out for the senioritis. We tend to start getting a little laxed in that senior year. So we really, as parents, want to keep our kids motivated so that they can finish strong. Now, if you have a student that is considering a super senior year, whereas you're going to take 5 years as opposed to 4 years to graduate, a kind of a cool secret that was just released in January, and a lot of people knew about that, and that is that your student can actually take the PSAT, NMSQT again for the second time and still qualify for national merit. Homeschoolers, a lot of them will do this, again, it applies to everyone. Super senior year is a great time to maybe even do some dual credit or study for your SAT to get it even higher for that next year when they go to college to get more scholarship money. A lot of times families, start thinking about a gap year. That's, of course, when a student will take a break after high school graduation, but before getting into college, entering and enrolling in college. This year generally it's usually about a year, but sometimes it can be longer. Various reasons can include social, academic, financial issues. It's a great time for students to mature and gain confidence before taking on the college life. Regardless of what route you take during the gap year, use this time to practice. Again, raising that SAT, ACT score to get more scholarship money. You have time to study and take lots of practice tests, no matter where you live. Even if you're using this year to travel, presenting a higher test score, basically than maybe the one that you originally submitted, can result in even tens of thousands of dollars of more money for you. So a lot of students take gap years. There's nothing wrong with that. You gain that additional experience. You can beef up your resumes. That's not a bad thing. If you want your student to be considered a freshman going into college, that's where, you don't want them necessarily to be considered a transfer student because it can nullify scholarships. So any courses during their gap year, you don't necessarily want to take a lot of college courses or anything because then they won't be considered a gap year, actually. So they won't go in as a freshman. Colleges love gap years. They find that those students tend to really have gained that confidence and that maturity during that year. And so they definitely welcome them. It's not a negative. All right, how about let's get into talking about picking a college. First thing for your students is you want them to create a separate email, not your personal email, something like susie.college@gmail.com. It's a place to keep all college information that you apply for coming in that email, scholarship searches. You don't want to get that coming into your personal email because that can really get bogged down and you can miss some important stuff on both ends. Now, there are three types of colleges that most people talk about. You've got your safe college. The safe college is the one that you're probably going to get in. Probably you have an 80% chance of getting in. Your reach college, maybe you have a 40 to 60% chance of getting in. And then that dream college, that's that one that is, probably not going to get in. Now, again, don't rule it out. But for most people, it's probably not an option. And even if you don't know what you're going to study, that's okay. Most people change their major 2 or 3 times anyways. That's not a problem. A good way to search schools by majors is go to the U.S. Department of Education. They have what's called a college navigator. I'm a big believer in kpex.com. It's where you can go in, you can set up a profile, you can put in your test scores, your GPA, you can even put in some colleges that you're considering going to. And it'll create a graph for you that will show you how many students were accepted or denied with the same stats as your student. And that's a great way to gain some knowledge and to come up with a game plan of what you need to do as far as maybe raising your test scores. And then, when it comes to the cost of college, the tuition tracker is a great website. A lot of people think they can't afford a private school. In many cases, it actually comes out a lot cheaper, or in many cases, even free. So check out tuitiontracker.org. Now, I think when you're starting your college search, you definitely want to identify 10 possible choices. Now, you can certainly do a lot more than that. But basically, you want to make contact with the colleges. Email the admissions officer. Get the name, the email, phone number of the person who will be assigned to you. Create a dialogue. Do this. Your junior year before you consider starting your applications. The first time a college finds out about you should not be when you send in your application. Take virtual tours if you're not able to actually go there and visit the college. Many of them have like videos or virtual tours on their website. A lot of them are student-led as well. And there's several sites that provide virtual tours for most major colleges. Now, the admissions officer, the AO, if you're a junior and you're just visiting, review admissions requirements, deadlines. If you have already applied, check on your status and see if you need to send in anything. Your financial aid officer, if you're a junior, check on scholarship opportunities and requirements. Again, if you've already applied, find out about scholarships. The more that you can look into, the more there, you can, save in college. Check the stats of your FAFSA and other forms in your senior year. So if you're aiming for competitive college or scholarships, you're going to apply to college with what you've already done in that junior year. And that includes your GPA, your class rank, your test scores, although you can still always raise your test scores. But it's going to be impossible to try to pull off some sort of senior year miracle for a lot of students before that first application comes in. Now, that doesn't mean all is lost. You still have the whole year in the senior year to continue raising your scores and applying. But not necessarily sometimes for the first application if you haven't really done a lot to prepare. But perusing their sites, when you're looking at some colleges, use that email that you set up to, get more information. And like I said, contact the admissions counselor. I think once you've written down your 10 possible choices, then go back and rank them in the order of your favorite to your least favorite. Now, when it comes to thinking about size of school, and by the way, a lot of people think there's only 3 major things to look at for colleges: cost, location, and size of school. There's really about 100 considerations, but we're going to just touch on a few today. So let's talk about the difference between a large school and a small school. Certainly there are ones in between. Large schools have more areas of specialized study. You get more courses in each area. You as a student can have more anonymity. You can be in a room of 200 kids. Nobody really knows who you are if that's what you want. A greater range of extracurricular activities, organizations, clubs. Larger libraries and many large schools have a graduate department. Now let's compare it to a small school. They have more of a personal atmosphere. Certainly, they've got smaller classes, more personal discussions and interactions with your professor, your teacher, a greater chance for individual participation. You have easier access to the faculty and some more flexible programs. So there's definitely pros and cons to both. And then there's schools everywhere in between, but at least gives you an idea of maybe what you're considering when it comes to even the size of the school. Now, the college visit, and by the way, we're talking about considerations, and there's, like I said, I think I've identified over 100. There's things like, the how far it is from your home, what are the requirements, the deadlines, how much need do they meet, do they have Greek life or social life, are there security on campus, is there a clinic, in case you get sick, a doctor. So there's a lot of things to think about. Now, when you're visiting, you can generally look on their website to find specific visit dates. They have them throughout the year. Sometimes you can book one on a non-visit date. That's nothing wrong with that at all. Schedule to meet with the admissions counselor or the dean of the department you're considering going into. Get the chance to sit in on a class. Tour the campus, student center, library, bookstore. Spend the night in a dorm. See what reality really is like living in about a 10 by 10 room with another person. Eat in the cafeteria. So talk to other students that are out on campus. They're not going to be biased. Ask them, hey, what do you think about this? What do you like about this school? What do you not like about the school? Now, procedure to college. What do we do now? Well, again, let's break this down for juniors and seniors. If you're a junior or if you have a junior, go ahead and get your FSA ID created. That is what you're going to ultimately need for the FAFSA in the senior year. Now, you can get this early, so you don't have to wait till you're a senior, but you don't want to wait till the last minute because it could take, who knows, a couple of weeks to get that. Start looking into financial aid. A whole nother seminar about the secret funding formula and the FAFSA and all that. But today we just want to talk about that there is aid out there. There's money out there available. You just need to know what you're doing. Again, hopefully you had been studying all summer and you can take your PSAT in the junior year, the third week of October. And then, of course, you want to get some more SATs and ACTs in there because those are important for college entrance. And then if you've seen any of my other seminars before, we talk about what do college admissions looking for. They look for that great applicant. And GREAT is an acronym for grades, rank, experiences, activities, and test scores. Now, for seniors, okay, what should you be doing? Well, FAFSA, the free application for money, opens up on October 1. That's the opening day. Ideally, you want to have everything ready so that you can file on October 1. Everybody should fill out the FAFSA. It's not for someone who's very, very poor. If you win the lottery, fill out the FAFSA. Hopefully you've already got your FSA ID set up. If you haven't, you can go ahead and do that before October 1. Keep in mind that no matter what your economic background is, always fill out the FAFSA. There's free money for everyone. The problem is 80% of families will make one or more mistakes. I think I've identified over 60 mistakes that people make, and lose out on money. So you want to make sure that you do that worksheet ahead of time. You can correct all your mistakes. Do the FAFSA forecaster to find out what kind of EFC you're going to end up having to see basically, where you're headed as far as a school. It really makes a difference on whether you should be applying for need-based aid or merit-based aid. And again, these are lots of seminars that I have, but I'm going to try to interject some of that information as we go through here. And it's important to understand the terminology when it comes to college and college entrance and acceptance and admittance, all that. These are what you will learn when it comes to applying for college. Early action, meaning naming a college early but not being 100% committed to it, or single option, naming only one college. Early admission. Now, early decision is where basically you commit to a college, and if you get accepted, you have to withdraw all other offers. And again, you have to be willing to pay full price if you get accepted. So you need to think seriously before you commit to early decision. Rolling admissions, where you they have open admission throughout the year, and then of course waitlisting is if they kind of say, no, I really don't think I want you. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to put you on a list and maybe I'll come back to you. But these are all important to learn. So when it comes to, college applications and entrance and what is actually needed, well, you need your transcript, and most families will have that first semester of the senior year that they have to send in, or they're up to junior year, the year before, depending on how far they send it in. Your test scores, SAT or ACT, doesn't matter. Letters of recommendation. Now, this is something that, especially seniors, you should be hopefully doing maybe in the summer before the senior year actually starts, because you need to give those people a 90-day lead time to be able to write a well-written paper about you. It's going to pretty much highlight everything about you that's not in your application. So, choose wisely somebody who knows you really well. And then, of course, you need your resume or / your brag sheet. This is where it's going to have your accomplishments, like your honors and the activities and experiences and community service and all of that. And then your application, which very often is going to be the Common App. And then, of course, your essay. And you can get those prompts online even months before. Now, it's important for parents that you download the correct forms that are going to be needed for your students to go to college. When they go off, they're going to have these in case there is emergency or certain situations arise. These are you need a health power of attorney, a finance power of attorney, and then, of course, those HIPAA forms as well. Now, when it comes to your test scores, and by the way, one of the things people think is, well, SATs and ACTs are going away. That is not a true statement. That is a myth that's propagated by people out there who don't like them. They don't like them because they're not so much mad at the test, but they're mad more at what they reveal, that there's inequality, and we live in a society that kind of wants to make everybody equal. But the thing about for your students is the best test scores are what you're going to send in, because most colleges, 80% will super score the ACT and 90% will super score the SAT. Now, what does that mean? That means that if your student gets a really high reading score on one test, but a better one on another test, a math one, they'll cherry pick the best sections and put them together from different tests to give them an overall super score. And one of the reasons why we're big believer in starting your kids early on test prep is because of what's called score choice, which allows your student to take the test and never have to worry about sending their scores in until they're ready. So again, no pressure on them. Now, seniors, keep in mind that even if you get an initial score sent in to the college, maybe early October, November, you can still generally send in a better score to get more scholarship money. And there are actually a lot of colleges that will let you take the test even up until the day before you start class. So that gives you more opportunities. How about paying for college? I mean, this is a biggie, because college is a lousy investment if you have to spend years paying off for something that you did in a 4-year time frame. So according to Forbes, notice right here in 2021, the cost of college for a public university, $38,000. This is an average. A private, $73,000 and $85,000 for more of a top tier school. Okay, and again, this is an average. But then notice right here, let's say you've got a freshman right now, even though, it's nothing wrong with watching the junior and senior information, because that's going to really help you gain the edge. But think of 4 years from now, look how much the projected cost of college is going to jump up. So this is very, very expensive. So let's talk about the bad news. The bad news is that the cost of college has gone up 600% in the last 25 years. We as a nation are in a $1.7 trillion debt when it comes to college loans. And the median debt is $100,000. The average is about $36,000. And it takes the average student over 20 years to pay off college loans. Now, it's important to understand that when it comes to the financial aid to pay for college, there are two types. Gift aid, this is grants, scholarships. This is money that you do not pay back. Self-help, this is like work study or federal student loans. Now, it's important to understand several key acronyms here. Okay, The EFC, this is the estimated family contribution. This is what the colleges say, well, this is what we think you can pay. Generally, it's extremely ridiculous and you pretty much laugh at it when you see it. COA is the cost of attendance. That includes, tuition and room and board and books and all of that. Now, need is what they come up with a formula that colleges use called COA minus EFC equals need. The cost of attendance minus the estimated family contribution is going to equal need. Okay. Now, the great thing about need is that it doesn't mean you're needy. It doesn't mean you're poor or destitute. It just means this is the formula they have. And if you don't fall into that lower income, or you're what's called stuck in the middle class, middle to upper class, then you look for colleges that will give lots of good merit money. And then there's also what's called the FSEOG, or the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. The most important thing you need to know about this is it's very firm condition, and you must be willing to teach for 4 years in underprivileged communities if you're going to go into one of those fields. If you do, then this grant obviously will satisfy that condition. It will convert to a federal unsubsidized Stafford loan, and you'll have to repay it if you don't. So it awards anywhere from $100 to $4,000 annually to students at particular schools. So check with your financial aid officer to see if what you're going for is going to apply for that. But there's so many ways to go to college for free and to get full rides. And today we're talking on maybe just the top tips to getting in and paying for some college, but there's so much more. Now let's talk about the good news when the numbers have it, and that is there are $24 billion worth of private scholarships annually, and there's $120 billion of financial aid that's available. 72 colleges, including all the Ivy Leagues, will give you basically a full ride, what's called cost containment programs, where they have eliminated loans and they turn everything into a grant. Now, there's a low acceptance rate. You have to be able to get your test scores and everything in there. But if you get in and you fall in that income bracket, then it's paid for. And like I said earlier, most colleges consider 40 to 60, 65,000 low income. But you've got schools like Stanford and Princeton that call 140,000 low income. You even have Harvard that has what's called grading scale tuition, in which you can actually only have to pay 10% of your income if you get accepted, if you make between $120,000 and $150,000. So $120,000 income means you pay $12,000 for Harvard, which is definitely cheaper than junior college. There's also 400 colleges that will meet 80 to 100% of need. And then 85% of colleges will admit and give scholarship money on test scores alone. Now, let's talk about preparing for those college tests. Tests are not going away, even though they were temporarily waived based on COVID and the lockdown last year. Colleges need a fair way to compare all students. And every college, 100% of colleges will take SAT or ACT. It does not matter. They're about 99% the same test. And they're used because of fairness. A 4.0 at one high school is not the same at another. Every school calculates their scores differently. So the only fair way a college can compare a homeschool student versus public or private school is a test like an SAT or ACT, because it levels the playing field. And they're not about IQ. They are logic tests. You can't study for these tests. You study the tests themselves, how they write the questions, the recurring patterns. A standardized test has standardized questions and standardized answers. And you study the test because you're going to do the same thing on every single test. That's how you beat these tests. And you only get about a minute per question. So that's why a lot of students don't do well, is because they can't finish on time and they burn the clock up. Lots of smart students bomb these tests. We get valedictorians and top 10% of schools in our classrooms all the time. But that's because these questions are purposely misleading and the wrong answers can be very appealing. But they are beatable, and students can learn to answer questions in 30 seconds or less. And certainly, if you don't know about the CLT, the Classic Learning Test, I really want to encourage you to check it out. It is an alternative to the SAT and ACT, which contains Western traditions, rich content like passages from C.S. Lewis and Charles Dickens. And it's basically taken on your own device, like a laptop or a tablet. You get your same-day results, and it's still used for college entrance as well as scholarship money. Now, BC, before COVID, they were in over a couple hundred schools like Patrick Henry, Liberty, Bryan, Hillsdale, Wheaton, Baylor. But then last year, when SATs and ACTs were canceled, and nobody knew what to do, they were at a loss. If you knew about the CLT, every college would have accepted it because it was already remotely proctored. Their enrollment went up like 1,000% every single week. We are honored that CLT has partnered with College Prep Genius, so we are their test prep of choice. And our strategies work on the CLT as well. As a matter of fact, they just came out with the top 1% scores in the nation, and a bunch of our kids were in that list. So I'm very honored about that. Now, when you take a CLT, use the partner ID CPG18. That will cut your registration in half. And colleges will archive a super score of the CLT, and they will archive them on their website. So cltexam.com. It became the differentiator last year for many, many families who, in lieu of the SAT and ACT cancellations. If you want to know more about the CLT, you can go to my website, collegeprepgenius.com/CLT. And what's interesting about this particular letter, this is a letter from Harvard. Now notice the date on it is October 7th, 2019, BC, before COVID, where Harvard actually sends Jeremy Tate, the founder of the CLT, a letter saying, you know what, we're glad to take into account the CLT applicants, because what happens is that if you're going to a top tier or an Ivy League school, everyone already has a high SAT or ACT score, or both. The CLT can be that differentiator, and it has been for many students. So keep that in mind. And when we compare all the tests, SAT, ACT, and CLT, you will notice that in the far right here in red, notice how very little you get per question. 36 seconds, 52 seconds, 72, 60, 68, 75. So it's logistically impossible to answer questions with such a short amount of time, unless you know the short way. So I'm going to show you some fun short ways on how to beat this test, and how your students can get free rides and amazing scholarships, because the higher their test score, the more scholarship money they get, because colleges get their rankings nationally. What is the product of these two numbers? Well, it's very simple. Just look at the last two digits, 2 and 3. 2 times 3 is 6, so your answer will end in 6. And there's your answer. No calculations and no mistakes. This is not a math test. This is a logic test using math as that medium. Okay, you need to know basic math for sure, but you don't have time to spend 3 minutes on a problem when they only give you about a minute per question. Here's another question that I like to call clone invasion. This is my strategy, clone invasion. Okay, and this is where you have a question, and notice the answer choices are all very similar. In the figure below, a square is inscribed in a circle with diameter S. What is the sum of the area of shaded regions in terms of S? Now, a lot of students are going to look at this, and they're going to start thinking about length times height, pi r square, geometry formulas, okay? But you don't have time to do that. So notice the pattern here. Notice they all have an S square. They all have a minus sign. 2 have 1/2, and 2 have pi over 4. The one that contains all the elements is the correct answer. I didn't have to do any math to do that, because that was just my using my critical thinking skills. Because what the test makers do is they start off with the right answer, and then to come up with the wrong answers, they take variations of the right answer. So to a trained test taker, you use that information to your advantage. All right, now this is taken from a reading section. This is a vocabulary question. What does the word formative mean in line 12? So I'm going to give y'all a second to look at this one here. Go ahead and read line 12. Look at the answer choices, and then we'll go over them in a moment. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if you got to all of it yet or not, but let me show you. The number one answer is creative. I will tell you that right now. The number one answer, number 2 answer is usually driven. Number 3 answer is usually obsessed. Okay, so here is the key. The key is you have to know how these questions are written. Okay, this particular question has what's called a cause and effect word. The word because. Because of what? Because of their flexibility, which means the answer that you're looking for is a word that means flexibility. Creative has nothing to do with being flexible. A and B mean the same thing, so you can rule them both out. And by process of elimination, D is your answer, live. And even if you don't know what it means, it doesn't matter. You don't have to know what it means. They're not even asking you to define the word. But by process of elimination, it's the right answer because A, B, and C do not work. There's over 171,000 words in the dictionary. And most of us will never know all of them, but we can confidently pick live, and it does mean flexible. All right, this is a writing question where you get about 47 seconds on the SAT and 36 seconds on the ACT. That doesn't count the passages, reading them, or even transferring your answers. Now, what you would do is you would look at the underlined part, and if it's grammatically correct, you'd pick A, no change. If it's not correct, you have to find the answer. Certainly, time is your enemy here. So the key is not to read all the passages, the questions, the answers. The key is to understand the recurring pattern. And instead of reading linear, we're going to think vertically, because notice all the answers are the same except punctuation. So if I'm going to think vertically, I'm going to say, notice one has a comma and two do not. One has a comma, two have a period. And again, notice the reverse cloning here. That's with letters instead of numbers. That is your correct answer. Now, I want to also show you an ACT science question to show you that you don't even have to know one iota of scientific knowledge to ace the science section. As a matter of fact, it's just like the reading section on the SAT. This is why you can use the same strategies on the SAT and the ACT, because there's that crossover of information. So you don't have to study two different programs. You just use the same studies. We have students who raise their score SAT 700 and students have raised their ACT 9 points, or they were National Merit Scholars on their PSAT and got 33, 34s on their ACT just by using the same program. Same thing with the CLT. We have students who've got as high as a 118 out of a 120, and a lot of students in that top 1%. So this is an ACT question. Notice the question says, which of the following best describes how the two scientists explain how craters are removed from Europa's surface? Then you have scientist 1 and scientist 2, and then you have a combination of water, wind, and sublimation. Now up here, you're going to find that there's an excerpt from scientist 1 and an excerpt from scientist 2. Now, scientist 1 says that the liquid water oozed up into the crater. Well, if we go down to scientist 1, notice there's only one answer that mentions water. Basically, you could quit right now and you would be done. You could move on to the next question. But we'll go ahead and confirm that. Notice that scientist 2 says the ice continually sublimes. So notice B, sublimation, there's your answer. And you didn't have to have had physics or biology or any science to understand that this was nothing more than reading comprehension, just like the SAT. So test prep, make it a priority. You pay now or you pay later exponentially. You don't want to end up drowning in a lot of student debt. So start your kids as soon as possible because you can't get time back. Make it a priority, and you can make test prep an elective on your transcript. But the great thing is you can use this information for so many other tests. I'm such a big believer in test taking skills should be a class in every home, every homeschool, every school, because your kids will be tested all their life, not just on your SATs, ACTs, getting to college, getting scholarship money, if they go into grad school someday, law school, med school, at their job. So here are some of the other tests that through the years people have said, your strategies in College Prep Genius actually worked on this test or that test. And my newest one that I just got last weekend when I was at the Texas Homeschool Conference is the FAA. A student was studying for the SAT, did extremely well using our program, but was also at the same time studying for their pilot's license. And she said the same strategies worked on it as well and got her license at a young age. So why is that? Do I know anything about flying? Absolutely not. Do I know anything about the military ASVAB? Not at all. CPA, real estate? No, I do not. But what I do know is that most standardized test companies all follow the same pattern. they have one objective, indisputable answer and several distractors. And so once you understand that, then you can use the crossover information for pretty much most tests and to help you ace those tests. So I wanted to show you a few scholarships that I pulled out from a few different states to show you what test scores can actually get you. So for example, in Alabama State, you can receive the Presidential Academic Scholarship with a 26 ACT or a 1240 SAT. Now, what these are anywhere from full tuition up to full ride plus or plus, which means it could mean room and board or grad school or stipends or spending cash. Now, some of these may have some other factors, like they may factor in your GPA or, whether it's competitive or automatic. In Washington, D.C., Howard University will get you the Bison STEM Scholar on a 26 ACT or a 1250 SAT. Now, I want to show you how just going up a few points on your ACT or a couple hundred points on your SAT can make a huge difference in combating that college debt. Notice right here at Liberty Christian, with a 28 ACT or 1310 SAT, they'll give you $5,500. But just go up 6 points on your ACT or 220 on your SAT, and they'll pay all your tuition. As you know, probably it's not cheap to go there. We've got a lot of our students have gone there for free. And by the way, like I said earlier, we have students who've gone up on their ACT 9 points, and their SAT is high 700 points. Sometimes we have an average of about 250 points just once through the program at a lot of the schools that we go to. Also, look, Utah State 1350 or everything paid for. Mississippi, University of Mississippi 1500 for 25 ACT, 1200 SAT. Just simply go up 7 points on your ACT or 250 on your SAT, and you'll get nearly $24,000. So basically, ultimately, your SATs, ACTs, these type of tests can determine where you get to go to college and who's going to pay. As a matter of fact, over a lifetime, the U.S. government says that you can make $1 million more in your salary just by having that bachelor degree. And you can look that up at the collegescorecard.ed.gov, and that they've done many statistics over many years. So whether your student is a good test taker or bad test taker does not matter. Anybody can beat these tests. Like the good test takers are those students who tend to do really well naturally. It is because they are more logically minded. So it's kind of intuitive to them to see patterns. And for those students, learning a few more little strategies can really put them over the top. So they need to start early so they can gain that test maturity. Or you have your other students who may be just as smart, but maybe they consider themselves a bad test taker. And they're more the rule followers. They're the students who stress over every question and second guess themselves and overthink everything. And they need to start early so they can not only lessen that test anxiety, but they can learn to retrain their brain to think logically, because logic is not a personality trait. It is a trained skill like piano or golf. So proper preparation prevents poor performance. And the thing about it is this, is colleges get their rankings because of scores. So when you come in and you bring your test scores, a high test score that's above their average score, their rankings, it brings their rankings up, which makes them look good. They get more funding, and they can attract students who can pay full sticker price, because those people who have that kind of money want to go to higher ranking colleges. Also, if a student is a really talented athlete, a college may admit them with a very bare minimum on the SAT or ACT score, which can often drop their rankings. So now they're out looking for high scores. So use this to your advantage to get in there and get, scholarships, even full rides to college. Here's some of the unsolicited awards that we have won over the years. I'm sure you probably have heard of Kathy Deppy. She reviews homeschool curriculum. She has a full review on her website, so you can go and read more of what she says, and also look up our awards. We have lots of testimonials on our website at collegeprepgenius.com/testimonials. High St. John uses our program. We've been reviewed by the Old Schoolhouse magazine. We are the official test prep for HSLDA. We have been teaching for them for almost 3 years now, and it's just been a great experience, and we love those folks over there. So timing can be the killer of opportunities. We have seventh graders who score higher than seniors on their SATs because they understand the recurring patterns and how to answer questions logically in 30 seconds or less. So start your kids early, because what happens is as they get older, they're going to get busier, more school, more homework, part-time jobs, sports, clubs, friends. It's just going to max out their schedule. And so their opportunities and the timing is going to start to decrease. So your kids can ace these tests. We've been doing this for, like I said, for over 17 years. So let me show you how we have helped students, not only all across the United States, but we've also taught in 5 other countries as well. So we have an online e-course. It's self-directed. It's self-paced. If you've got a student who's very motivated, they can sit and watch the lessons. Now, it does take work. There is no instant success. You cannot shortcut the shortcut. This is a program, not a pill. It's like everything else, piano or golf or football, guitar. You've got to learn and you've got to practice to excel and do well, because you're going to have accuracy before speed. But the e-course is 12 interactive lessons. It's 12 weeks if you do it along follow the plan with a daily homework guide. A lot of our younger students, 6th grade, 7th grade, they might spend 2 or 3 weeks on one lesson. We also have students who kind of double up, but we recommend, going back over it several times to really solidify the information so you can apply it appropriately. There are quiz questions, a webinar library of a lot of my seminars I've done, essay templates to where you can walk in the door and have 75% of your essay already written. Mom and dad friendly. You don't have to do anything. It's a 1-year membership, and you can renew it for $49 after the end of a year, and all your kids can use it. We have a special for the conference here. It's called Chart 50, where you can get $50 off our comprehensive e-course. Normally it's $189, so that will make it $139. And what you get is special in this comprehensive is you get our Vocab Cafe book series. This is where we have fun, wholesome books that your kids can read. They're e-readers. And your students can learn words like lugubrious or plebiscite in context with the definition and pronunciation at the bottom of the page. So they're wholesome stories are fun. My kids wrote them. You can also use it as a literature credit, but also a creative writing credit as you have your kids take the words they've learned and write them back into their own story. And then we have what's included in the comprehensive special is 15 secrets to free college. If you want to know those 400 colleges that meet up to 100% need, that's in that book. What do you do if you're already in college? Can you still get money? Yes. What are some of the top FAFSA mistakes that people make? That's in there as well. It just has a lot of great stuff. And then we have our high school prep genius book. This is like a personal guidance counselor. And yes, Kathy Duffy has also reviewed it as well. So feel free to go to her website and read the full review. It's an e-reader. I mean, we do have hard copies of these as well, but it's a checklist of what to do every month of every year in high school. There's even tips starting in 4th grade. What about how to do homeschool transcripts? What about volunteering, community service, prestigious awards, skipping the MCAT and finishing undergrad and med school in 6 years? A lot of great information. Was voted the Blue Ribbon Award for the best resource. And of course, for our e-course, we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get it, try it, see if something that you want to do. It is work. We will never say it's not. It's definitely work. I mean, sometimes people get upset because they don't raise their scores, but when we look at the back end of our dashboard, we see that they didn't finish the lessons. They didn't do everything we told them to do. As Zig Ziglar says, you can't get upset for the results you don't get for the work you don't do. So it's definitely going to be work. But it could pay off in hundreds of thousands of dollars of scholarship money. And then we also have live boot camps that are starting to resume. But last year we were in lockdown, and so we had to cancel all our live classes. So before COVID, we taught almost in every state, as well as some different countries. But if you are interested in hosting a live class, it's really a matter of getting a minimum of 10 students together and a place to teach. Then myself or one of my teachers will come and teach your kids live in person. They'll still get the e-course as a bonus. It's $395 per student and $295 for the siblings. But if you host it with a minimum, you get your kids free. So to find out more, you can go to collegeprepgenius.com/host. And I'll recap this in the end as well as being your notes. And then last year, we pivoted to virtual boot camps, which have actually been a great success. I was a little concerned. I didn't know because we've been teaching glide classes for so long, but you're still going to get a professional teacher, instructor who's certified and who knows the program. He or she, you can interact, you can ask questions, it's live, you get instant feedback. You also still get the bonus e-course as well as the tape versions of the classroom that you can go back and look at. And, again, you can do it at your own time in your own home according to our schedule. To find out more about it, you can go to collegeprepgenius.com/live virtual. And you can use that same code CHART50 to get $50 off the normal price of $355. And even PayPal has 4 easy payment plans, which is kind of cool. But you can also host a virtual boot camp and get your kids free for that as well. This one, you don't have to get a place or a location. You still need to get the minimum of 10 kids, but they could go to any of our classes, not just the same exact class. And so minimum of 10, you get credit for it. Once you get to 10 kids, your kids are free. If you get over 10 kids, then you can make money. Or some people just like to be an affiliate and just like to make money. So this is our Cha-Ching program. So collegeprepgenius.com/cha-ching. And if you want to watch one of our virtual boot camps online, you can click onto the link and it will take you and you can see Dr. Ricciardi there teaching math, reading, and writing an excerpt from one of his classes. So let me kind of sum all this up for you. I'm going to leave this on the screen for a moment. Feel free to screenshot this and hang on to it. So if you want to get the notes for today, because it was a lot of information, if you go to collegeprepgenius.com/chart, and the notes will come into your email box. If you're interested in hosting a virtual boot camp, again, you want to sign up for our Cha-Ching program at collegeprepgenius.com/cha-ching. Or if you want to host an in-person class and you want to get a minimum of 10 kids and a place to teach, then you want to go to collegeprepgenius.com/host, and that your kids would be free. And again, using that code CHART50, it's limited time, and that would get you $50 off our comprehensive e-course, which would make it $139, or our virtual boot camp, which would make it $305. And again, PayPal has those payment plans. So hopefully, I know there's a lot of information. Maybe you felt like you're drinking from a fire hose, but I know this is going to be taped. It's going to be archived on the Homeschool website, so you can go back and watch it again. But feel free to contact us if you have any questions at info@collegeprepgenius.com. So again, thank you so much. I hope this has helped you get a grasp on some guidelines for your junior and senior for preparing for college. So thank you so much.